What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new commentary video. I was originally going to play some Metro, and we were originally going to talk about the ongoing Boogie situation, but I received a DM and I really wanted to address it and talk about this topic this person sent in because I felt like it was really important. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you all so much for clicking on this video and watching it. It means a lot to us here at Point C. We've really been working hard on making better content for you guys and really growing and becoming better at creating content. And with that, I would very much appreciate it if you guys could go down there, hit that subscribe button, press that like button, and if you feel comfortable, feel free to join our Discord. The link is now working. You can go ahead and join us. We chat in there, we just hang out, and you get some sneak peeks to videos, so why not, right? And you get to help me pick topics for these videos. But without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and read this message that I received this morning. Hey, what's going on, Hunter? I would really like some advice. I'm currently 24 years old. I did not graduate college. I dropped out of college. I currently don't have a job, and my life consists of waking up every single day, smoking weed, and playing Call of Duty. I constantly feel like a disappointment, and I constantly feel like I'm letting down my parents. Am I a failure? Okay. So I'm going to come right out of the gate, just like I talked about a little while ago, about how I kind of felt like I don't like the term wasting your time. I also don't like the term failure, and I don't like the term disappointment, because both terms have this negative connotation where, in my opinion, I feel like nearly every single person in this world has something to give. Obviously, there's exceptions, but for the most part, there is always something that somebody can give. So I want to make that clear right away. Second off, I want to tell you that no, I don't think that you're a failure, even though I don't really believe in it. I don't think that you're a failure, and I want to talk about that a little bit. Now, I get that life is hard. Life is always going to be something that is always going to be there. It's always going to be something that smacks you in the face. It's not always going to be nice, and a lot of the times it's very stressful and can really just drain you and put a big strain on yourself, right? Of course, and especially with things like dropping out of college, and especially with your age. I mean, you were sort of in this weird period where you were dealing with COVID while you were trying to go to school. And especially for college students, it was a very big change of pace. They didn't have that traditional college experiences. Colleges really didn't know how to navigate it. And it wasn't like high school. The thing is about high school is that much of high school isn't your responsibility. And what I mean by that is that if you are failing a class or you're not doing too well, a teacher is going to reach out to your parents. They're going to initiate a conversation and get you on the right track. That doesn't happen in college. And it was a very stressful time, I know, for students, you know, people that were really getting into college and people that were just trying to figure out their life. I know that that was a big stressor for a lot of people. Thankfully, I was still in high school at the time, and I was still relatively early on in high school. I was still a sophomore. So, you know, things were a little different for me, you know. But what I will say is this. I don't think that you need to go to school. I've made that clear, and I've had a whole discussion video talking about why I think that everybody doesn't need to go to college. But I think the first step, unless we are dealing with depression, right? There's two avenues that I'm going to tell you to take. First avenue I'm going to tell you to take is decide, do I need to go back to school? Do I want to, you know, pursue my degree, whatever it was that you were pursuing, or do I want to go into a trade? Do I want to work? Those are the first question that I think that we need to ask ourselves. The other question is, if we're feeling depressed, we need to focus on that. And I've talked a little bit about this before, but I'm going to repeat myself a little bit and give you the same advice that I gave back then. The first step of really conquering any sort of depression or feeling that you're worthless or that you're not going where in life is start with a small step. Today or tomorrow, whenever you want, in the next few days, I want you to start by cleaning your room. I want you to put aside those video games or that weed or whatever it may be that you're really into. Put it aside for a couple hours, and I really want you to clean your room, right? And here's why. I've talked about this before at length, but I'm going to cut it kind of short. When it comes to depression, one of the first things that we let go of is our physical health, our mental health, and our well-being. Those are the three major things that we will let go of when we are struggling, right? So physical health is pretty self-explanatory, and mental health is a little more complicated. That's where the well-being part sort of comes in. The first step that I tell anybody when they tell me that they're depressed or they're struggling is clean their room. When you're able to clean up your lifestyle, you're able to clean up the things around you, it's going to help. It's going to be able to start a genuine attempt by you to improve what you are doing and who you are. That is a genuine fact. There are plenty of philosophers and people with many ideas that have came up with this exact same thing. This isn't some original thing that I came up with. People like Jordan Peterson have talked about this. People like William McRaven have talked about this stuff. And it's something that I genuinely do believe in. When I see myself start to struggle mentally, like I have in the past, one of the first things that I always reach to is cleaning my room, right? And the thing is that when you get your mind in this healthy mindset, you're going to want to start to do things, right? So that's the first step. If you're dealing with depression, it's also starting to clean up some of those things that you're struggling with. Why do you feel like a failure? If it is the lack of a job, we need to start having a conversation of what you want to do with your life. Like I mentioned, do you want to go to school? Do you want to get a trade degree? What is it that you want to do? But I think that genuinely finding your place in employment or whatever it may be for you, I think is super important. I think that it is generally super important to find something that you are passionate about and find some way to turn that into a career. Now, in this case, we need to really focus on that career part, right? Because I understand that at 24, you feel overwhelmed, and that's fair. A lot of people do when they're 20 and they're struggling, or they're 19 and they're struggling, 18, whatever it may be. That is a genuine struggle. And I wanted to mention just really quick about the marijuana use or weed use. I sometimes have a drink or two and I sometimes smoke some weed. Big deal. Whoa. Right? The thing is for me is I use those very sparingly. I don't use them all the time, and I'm not an active drug user, and I don't constantly drink alcohol. It's a pretty rare thing for me. And there's a reason for that. Unfortunately, a lot of people use these substances as a way to cope. They're not made for that, and they shouldn't be used for that. And unfortunately, a large part of our society does. So I think it's really important that you should sit down and think to yourself, should I cut back a little bit? And just see how it makes you feel. You don't need to go cold turkey, and I don't think that you need to get rid of it entirely. I think that both of these substances can do good for people. But I want you to stop and sort of, say to yourself, do I want to really improve, right? And if you really do want to improve, should we try taking a step back from these substances and see how it affects us? We don't necessarily need to stop them altogether, because I don't think that is a solution for a lot of people, especially in today's environment where I don't really see an issue with you using something like weed, right? I think that's perfectly fine. But I think it is important to view it how we're using it. Are we using it as something to just take the edge off after a long day? Or are we using it as a coping mechanism, which is not the healthy alternative? It's not the healthy alternative to use it like a coping mechanism. And that's the unfortunate reality, right? We talk a lot about alcohol addiction, gaming addiction, porn addiction, all these different forms of addiction. The main form of addiction that we never mention is weed addiction. Even though that it's really not a drug per se, it still has some addictive properties. Sure, it doesn't make us want to do things like heroin or crack or, meth. But what it does do is that it does make us dependent, just like the same way that alcohol can make us dependent, right? Any substance that we take in that releases dopamine in some form or fashion, or serotonin, is going to get us addicted in some form or manner. It doesn't matter what it is. That's just how it works. So I think it's really important to take a step back, both from, smoking weed, and also I think it's important too to sometimes take a step back from video games. Sometimes it's a good time to just sort of de-stress and of course use video games. I play video games all the time, but I think it's also good that, you take some time to just kind of step back and just relax a bit, right? And see sort of, am I once again using it as a coping mechanism? And I think that's really important. And I really think it's important in finding yourself. But I also really do want to mention one important fact. If you don't want to change, you're not going to. Which I think is a thing that some people are afraid to say, but it's the truth. Unfortunately, if we're trying to change and deep down we really don't want to change, we won't. Our bodies won't let us, and we're not going to put in the drive necessary to. And I want to remind you of that. Why do you want to change? Right? What do you want to do with your life, and why? Like, I want you to write that down. today is sort of, why do I want to improve? What do I want to improve? What do I want my end goal to be? Is it a career? Is it financial freedom? Whatever it may be, why do I want that goal? I want you to think about that. Sit on it for a day. Maybe while you're cleaning your room, just think about that. Why am I trying to improve right now? Why is it that I feel like a failure? And what would make me not feel like a failure? And then once you figure out why you're feeling like a failure, what's turning you into feel like you're a failure, you need to chase that goal, right? And once again, if you don't have the proper drive, if you truly do not want to change, if you don't want to make the sacrifices to change, you will not. You're going to fall back into old habits, and you're simply going to rely on the weed and the video games to make yourself feel better when you feel like you're not improving and you're not growing at all as a person. That is a true thing, and that is something that you need to learn from. And I want you to take that away from today. I want you to figure out deep down why you want to change and why you need to change in your mind. And then I want you to chase that as hard as it's going to require you to. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I just once again want to say thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I got some neon white in the background. Really fun game. I would really recommend it. It's a fun, fast-paced first-person platformer. Really good time. And also, once again, our Discord link is down in the description. It is now working. So go ahead and join if you feel comfortable. We chat in there, we hang out, whatever. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and peace.